My name is Seldon. I'm an entrepreneur in the field of travel, a certified life and a business coach, a speaker, and an author in making. Welcome to my YouTube channel again. If you've seen my last video, I had spoken about a topic which is how to set goals in life and business. And the topic today that I would like to talk about is in continuation to the previous topic. And the topic today that I want to address is how should you review those goals, the goals that you're making in life as well as your business. So very often people set goals, people make goals, but then they forget to review it or they don't do it efficiently. So I decided to make like a separate video altogether so that the previous one doesn't get very long either. So I decided to make a separate video and I hope it is of value to you. So if this topic sounds interesting to you, stay till the end because I'm going to talk about three different aspects within this topic. The first aspect I'm going to talk about is why review is important in the first place. The second thing I'm going to address is what kind of perspective or the important thought process you should be keeping in mind while you're reviewing your goals. And third thing I'm going to talk about is what are the important questions you've got to ask while you are doing the review process. Cool. So shall we deep dive in? Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is why is a review important in the first place? Like I said, a lot of people set goals, they have these new resolutions and things like that, but they just fizzle out over the time. Why? Because one of the reason is why they don't review their goals properly, right? So review is super crucial, and there are two important reasons why I want to highlight this. The number one reason is that reviewing a goal will ensure that you're on track. It's going to help you understand whether you're on track or you're off track. For example, if you are traveling from, let's say, New Delhi to Dharamsala, right? You've got to have these milestones, these smaller goals in between, so that you know that you're on the right track, you're in the right direction, and you're going to Dharamsala and not anywhere else, right? So that will help you to understand whether you're on track or off track. The second thing that the review will help you to understand is that it will remind you. It will remind you of your priorities and your real objectives from time to time. We all have 10 million things to do, right? There's so much around us, so many distractions, I call it, around us, right? So very often what happens is we tend to forget what our main objectives are. So when we sit for a review, this is a great time to remind yourself what the real objectives are and what you should be focusing on so that you're able to eliminate all the rest of the distractions, right? And then third thing that is going to help you in continuation to this point is it will help you identify the gaps and the loopholes, right? So you'll be able to understand where you're going wrong, what is going right, what is not going right, and you can work on those gaps and those loopholes, right? So ladies and gentlemen, please understand, review is super important. If you're setting your goals and targets, you've got to review it. Okay? Now, since I'm hoping that you're convinced about the review part, now I'm going to talk about a few things that you have got to keep in mind while you're doing the review process. Okay? The first perspective that I would like to share with you is that you've got to understand, number one, that life and business doesn't always go the way we want it to go. It doesn't go as per the plan. We can make all the plans in this world, but there are times when we have roadblocks. It doesn't go as per what we were expecting, things like that. Don't be disappointed. Don't be like flabbergasted by it. You've got to understand one thing. Get your focus back and see, are you meeting your objectives or not? So as long as your main objectives are getting met, I would say that you are doing fine. Okay? No need to panic. All right? So keep this perspective straight. Second thing is that I would emphasize on this aspect is that the review needs to be done on a consistent basis. Whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, 6 monthly, whatever is, figure out what works for you. Okay, but you've got to stick to that timeline, to the review. It shouldn't be that I did the review today, then I remember it suddenly in 10 days and I do it again, and then in a month, and then I forget about it for the next 6 months. That's inconsistency, right? That is not going to help you move forward. and you would be like, am I on track, am I not on track? So it's going to be bringing a lot of confusion. It has to be consistent. um, Third perspective that I'd like to share with you is be willing to tweak your plan if needed. Okay, don't be those kind of people who are like rigid. Don't be rigid in your attitude. Don't be like, oh, this is how it should be and there's no other way, kind of a thing. The like I said, our life, or our plans don't go the way that we hope it would go, and then when it doesn't go, you have to be ready to tweak it. You have to be ready to pivot, and you have to move as per the circumstance, right? And secondly, don't be disheartened as well. Don't be like, oh, this didn't work, that didn't work, I planned so much, I worked so much hard. These things happen, so you've got to be resilient that way. You've got to understand that things change, and you've got to be like a water. Your characteristic personality needs to be like water. It needs to be liquid, it needs to be fluid, so that you can take another shape, right? So I would like you to have a perspective, an objective perspective, and not a personal perspective. Don't put it on yourself, don't put it on the other person. It's just, be very objective in your approach. So while you're doing your review. Cool. So this is a perspective I'd like you to have while you're doing your review. So the third thing that I want to share with you today are the important questions that you've got to ask while you're doing your review, so that your review gets more and more effective over the time. Okay. So here I'm going to give you important, like a list of questions. I actually have 4 questions that I want to share with you. 4 very important questions. Do not miss these questions. And I'm not giving you any format or anything, because I don't know what your particular goal is. This is something that, I work with people individually on one-to-one basis when I'm going through my coaching system. So right now what I'm going to really give you is these 4 important questions that you've got to ask yourself for every review, so that you know where you're going and what you need to do next. Okay, so the first question you've got to ask is, am I meeting my smaller targets or milestones? Like I said, if you're driving from Delhi to Dharamsala, you have these milestones coming between, like, for example, other cities like Chandigarh, or maybe Pathankot or something. So all these places that come in between, these are your smaller targets, right? The more you hit these targets, you're getting closer to your bigger goal. So you've got to review and check whether are you able to achieve these smaller targets. If you are able to achieve them, then very good, you are on track. But if you're not, then ask yourself why. Again, this is a game of evaluation, self-awareness, and understand why, what is the gap, where the problem could lie. So you've got to ask yourself these questions. The second thing is, you've got to again ask yourself, am I meeting the timelines? Right? If you have watched my previous videos on how to set goals, I very specifically mentioned that every goal should have timelines. Very, very, very essential. So if you have set those timelines, you've also got to evaluate whether you're meeting those timelines or not. If you're meeting, very good again. But if you're not meeting, again, you've got to ask yourself why. What is the gap? Where is the problem here? Okay, the first thing you got to ask yourself is, are you meeting your targets? Second is, are you meeting those targets in the specific timelines? All right. Third thing that I would like you to ask yourself is, throughout the week, or whatever time that you're spending working on your goals, there are certain strategies that you might be implementing, right? What are those strategies? You've got to review specifically those strategies. Are those strategies leading to growth or no growth, or it has absolute no impact on your goals? So you've got to also evaluate the strategies that you have been implementing over the time, so that you understand whether it's working or it's not working. And finally, if once you have asked all these questions and you're able to understand these loopholes and these gaps and everything, then I would like you to think about what are the new strategies that you can create, what are the changes that you need to create, so that you can come back on track and meet your targets or your goals, right? And while you're doing all of this, I also want you to evaluate and figure out what are the things that are working for you. Like, before that, I was just saying what are things that are not working for you, but it's also essential to understand what are the things that are working for you currently, the impact of it, so that you can decide to either continue it or accelerate it, that is a decision that you will have to make. But it's important to have an understanding of what is working as well, along with what is not working. So I hope this short video of how to review goals has been helpful so far, and just wanted to remind you once again that don't be fixated on the strategies that you're creating, and let it change as per the need. And don't be disheartened while you're reviewing. Don't be scared of review. A lot of people are scared of review because they think they're going to judge themselves. People are going to judge them. Please, there is no this review is not about judging one another. It's just about understanding whether you are on the right track or not. So take it very, very objectively. So thank you so much for watching. If you see value in this, then please subscribe to my channel and leave in your comments. I would love to hear more from you. If you have any specific topic in your mind that you would like me to make a video on, I will be more than happy to do that. So please share with me in your comments. And thank you so much, and I will see you again in my next video.